Hey guys, so there's probably two types of people that are going to be watching this video right now. Type number one will say, wow, that's super cool and unique. You just turned an M4 into a Bullpup. Type number two, well, they just think I mutilated a perfectly fine M4. Yes, I performed open heart surgery on an EMG F1 Airsoft M4. Why did I do it? Well, I love M4s and I love bullpups. In fact, I love using bullpups so much for airsoft, I learned how much I don't like them, or at least the ones available on the market. Honestly, there just isn't much out there in terms of reliable, easy to upgrade, take apart, or magazine reliable bullpups. Hence, the M4 really is the best airsoft bullpup you can probably get, with a little help of my imagination. Now, yes, I know you can buy a bullpup kit compatible for airsoft M4s, however, they're bulky and 3D printed, and you have to stick with the design given to you. I said, screw that, I'll design something extremely sleek, minimalistic, and more importantly, metal, durable. With the added bonus of being an M4 platform, I get to use a hop-up I know works and is easily upgradable, a V2 gearbox ready for an HPA system, and of course, an unlimited amount of compatible M4 magazines. And yes, even with the trigger bar in the way, splitting the upper and lower receiver really isn't a problem. Speaking of trigger bar, the most in-your-face feature about this design, I used metal mending plates from Amazon. Yeah, seriously. Put it together like Lego using small screws, Loctite, and spray paint. It's not coming apart. The front trigger is really where I let my imagination run wild. Bear with me here. This is an MTW trigger. Yes, an MTW trigger. It slides in and out of the front grip. Inside the front grip, which was originally advertised as a foregrip with battery space, is a simple spring system I put together. This modified MTW trigger interacts with the spring, which helps put the mending plate back into position when I fire. Both the rear trigger spring inside of the gearbox and the front trigger spring inside the grip help move the mending plate back into position. This compensates for the added weight I put on the firing mechanism. By the way, I am planning on making a separate takedown video of my design, but I won't do it yet. YouTube likes to demonetize any videos of me taking stuff like this apart. We'll save it for a dedicated video. Moving on, obviously I HPA'd the gun. You know I'm a sucker for HPA and the Polarstar Kythera in particular, so yes, I put one in here. The tricky part I didn't realize was that the EMG F1 V2 gearbox is a little different on the inside, so I had to modify and extend the Kythera trigger link in order to reach the trigger. And I had to use a hacksaw blade to make room inside the gearbox. And when I mean some room, I mean a lot of room. Yes, it took many hours, and I'm pretty sure I disassembled and reassembled the gearbox like 15 times before I got it right. I picked the EMG F1 for its skeletonized, lightweight design, and the red bits to match the aesthetic. Plus, it wasn't an expensive gun to begin with, so I felt less bad mutilating the platform. I did have to buy an aftermarket handguard, however, which was a crucial part in making this whole thing work. I desperately needed the M-LOK slots as well as the space required to properly attach the trigger bar in a very custom way. It has 4 points of contact: the front trigger, rear trigger, side of the handguard, and top of the handguard. The handguard attachment points prevent the trigger bar from wandering up, down, or outward when I pull the front trigger. It pulls back, then forward. That's it. Inconsistencies with the trigger pull will cause malfunctions to some degree, so this was very crucial for me to make sure it was designed properly. As for the front of the gun, I went with the suppressor look, although it doesn't look bad with an ARP muzzle either, so I don't know. I'm running a 6.23mm Orga Magnus barrel, 260mm in length, or about 10 inches. Internally, this gun is built the exact same as my other M4. Only difference is it has a longer barrel. My non-bullpupped M4 has about a 6.5 inch barrel or so. Quite short. Plenty of rail space on here too. And on the left side of the gun, 100% of the M-LOK real estate is still available. I'm running a Firewolf 3x optic, same optic I have on my SMC9, fantastic optic, very affordable, and matched the look of my Bullpup pretty well. You're probably wondering how I made the stock work. Well, I removed the old stock and buffer tube, then attached a rather expensive for some reason stock delete which screws right into the spring guide. Pretty standard stuff. I used the Picatinny rail on the stock delete and attached a rail riser on a 90-degree angle, then attached a rifle butt pad to it with bolts. If for whatever reason I have an issue with my reach, I can always use a smaller or larger rail riser to shorten or lengthen my reach. So basically, this Bullpup is perfectly sized to me. Like a shoe. Now, getting to the hop-up is a little more cramped than your typical M4, but hey, I can still get in there with an ungloved hand. And besides, I really shouldn't be fiddling with it once it's set. As for the mag release, that's a different story. A little bit of a blunder on my part, but I hadn't realized the EMG F1 platform wasn't ambi, probably because of the skeletonized mag well, but that's okay. I just need to reach onto the other side with my shooting hand to push the mag release button. There are two ways to reload, one with either hand, but I find flipping the gun and doing it with my right hand is much easier. With practice, finding the button blindly with my left hand might become easier. It does make for a unique reload, and I don't hate it. It's unique to the gun. It's flavor. Well, there it is, an M4 bullpupped with mending plates, screws, and a spring from my local hardware store. I've been wanting to do something like this for a long time, believe me, mostly because ever since I stopped using my AUG, a void has been left in my heart, yearning to play with another bullpup at Airsoft, but without the headache around misfeeds, magazine issues, rail space, you know, typical bullpup stuff. I guess in the realm of Airsoft, if you can't beat the hordes of M4 users, join them. I guess you could say I did that. Just not really. I am very, very curious to know what you guys think about my creation in the comments, so please let me know. Do you like it? Or is it just cursed to you? I fully understand. This started with a literal doodle on a piece of paper on my desk, and I'm just so happy to finally bring that doodle to life. I love Airsoft this much. I'll be sure to make a separate video with the trigger system all disassembled if you guys want, and yes, I'll be taking this to the field and using it a lot, so much more footage to come. Take care, guys. Thank you so much for watching.